What's up for this? Thank you for this comment. First of all, I just want to say something. Okay. Back up. Okay. Yes. So people don't understand the impact that the Jungle Theater will have. They also don't understand the impact of the arts that the arts have. So like losing the James Sewell Ballet, losing Minnesota Dance Theater, Xenon Dance, I don't know how they're keeping it afloat, losing the Gremlin Theater, losing Theater Garage. Those happened before 2020, but like they're still out there in the ethos, okay? I drove past Phoenix Theater today. It does not look open, and I'm pretty sure it's just like, now it's a nonprofit activist world. The arts create the culture. Okay, so I know this intimately well. I've been studying systems my entire life. Don't get me started as to why. I'm a middle child. We'll leave it at that. In a massive family, and I was trying to figure out my place. Maybe it started there, okay? But when I moved to New York in the late 1990s, Tribeca and Soho and Tribeca were like the place to be, right? And they were so expensive. And like the Tribeca Film Festival and every major celebrity lived there. And it just was what it was. But that stemmed out of the fact that in the 1980s, it was a trash dump. Much like Northeast, we just had Art-A-Whirl. Northeast was always the cheapest place in the city to exist. The Warehouse District, which people now call North Loop, and they gentrified it, the Warehouse District was cheap artist space in the 1980s in Minneapolis as well. So artists go into a place and they make it cool. Let me explain. Head on, head off, I can never know. So whether it's an artist, performing artist, usually it's all of it, right? It gives a person something to do, a reason to go someplace, okay? It's in the business world, as Charlton Heston famously said, the problem with Hollywood as a business is that it's an art form. The problem with Hollywood as an art form is that it is a business. So there's always that. So arts create a stack. So if you're looking at it as an artist, you're just like, I want to do my art. If you're looking at it as a city, as the leader of a city, as somebody trying to create space, arts create the stack, okay? They are the thing that gets someone to go to a place. Intermedia Arts, another theater we lost, right there on Lyndale, next to the yoga studio. I don't even know if hot yoga is still there. I was there today. Okay, so it creates a space. So let's take Intermedia Arts, for example. So I'm gonna go to a show. In fact, let's just take the corner of Lyndale and Franklin, which is just a trash dump version of what it was. So there was Theater Garage. Theater Garage was, again, in the 1980s, the last time that everybody abandoned Minneapolis and burned it to the ground in the 60s. The 70s became a dumpster fire. In the 1980s, artists came into these trashy areas. So someone took an old, like, auto mechanic shop and turned it into a theater space, and it became a vibe. Why? Because it was a dumpy spot that people put blood, sweat, and tears into making it a theater, and then the rental rates were cheap, where like independent theater companies could come in and rent it for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to put up their show. And then it became Theater Garage, and it was very popular. Well, what was right there? Because with Lyndale and Franklin, you could go up Franklin and go to places there, right? Or you could go down and end up at Rudolph's, which of course now is it's like an abandoned ghost town mine. It's awful what happened to Rudolph's. But so Theater Garage was the tentpole. Rudolph's came afterwards. Now it's like, oh, we're going to have a place to go. And I can't tell you how many times I went to a show and then went to dinner or grabbed drinks at Rudolph's. Many, many, many times. That's why I'm using this as my example. But so you put in theater, like the Jungle Theater people are going to then go to the Lynn Lake Brewery, right? They're going to go to Greek to Me, which again are closed. And that ecosystem helped propel the downward spiral of the Jungle Theater. But so last night I was driving around and I ended up seeing the Guthrie had just gotten out. It's pouring rain and people are scattering everywhere. And, there's only like 2 restaurants left down there. And that's the Guthrie. And then P.S. Toussaint Morrison and Nekima went and held a press conference. Like, just get a TikTok like everyone else and stop bitching to the press. But like, they held a press conference complaining about the Guthrie Theater, the one place in the Minneapolis that seems to survive, because they have an international audience. Like, I know, mixed blood still exists, but nothing else. So like the art space builds the ecosystem. So it's like, okay, we're gonna go to the theater. Let's grab dinner beforehand. Let's grab drinks afterwards. Oh, we need a place to stay because we're coming in from out of town. Oh, you know what? I mean, maybe people like live in Eden Prairie and they've got a little disposable income and, you know, they want to go see a show, but they want drinks afterwards. And they don't want to have to drive home and Uber home. So they just think, you know what? Let's just get a hotel. Let's make it a weekend out of it in downtown Minneapolis, right? That's the ecosystem that gets created from the arts. When there's a gallery opening, when there's like a, oh my gosh, we have to see this new experimental artist, and then, you know what? Let's go. We'll get dinner first. We'll go to the show. Maybe we can get drinks afterwards, and if we're lucky, we can hit, you know, this late night like jazz club afterwards. They play until 1 o'clock in the morning. That's how a functioning city ecosystem works. The fact that nobody in this and the leadership in our city seems to comprehend that, or if they do, they're not saying anything, which honestly, silence is complicit. Dear leaders, silence is complicit. So thank you for recognizing that, because I am very passionate about the arts, because again, Tribeca and Soho were the place to be. So expensive. All the property values went up. Getting a loft in Soho was like the dream as an actor. Like, oh, you can afford it. It was like $10 million because I got there 15 years after it was a dumpster fire and the artists made it cool. That's how it works, you guys. Thank you for this. If you have any other questions, I will see you out there. Let's save Minneapolis.